Today's subject, 2000s movies, bro. I know y'all done seen a whole bunch of movies in y'all lifetime. Y'all wondering, like, some movies, nowadays absolutely suck. And that's coming from somebody that was born in the late 2000s. So, this video is just going to talk about the peak era of movies. Now, everybody has a different opinion on the peak era of movies. Some people say the 90s, some people say the 80s. Those people are wrong. 2000s are where it's at. I honestly think out of any decade, this is probably the best decade to be alive. And I wish I was alive as a young jit then, but I wasn't. I was an infant, which sucks, but luckily we can still reflect on those days and be jealous. So the first movie that we have to talk about is easily The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight, even the Dark Knight trilogy. I think the third one, like, I don't even know when all of them came out, but I know the Dark Knight movie came out in the 2000s. Peak movie. I swear, bro, this movie is so goated. Like, you can't look at this movie and not say, damn, this is the best Batman movie ever, bro. Because it was so peak. I mean, look at your boy's fit. This is tough. But stepping out of the DC movies, we had the Marvel movies, dog. The Marvel movies back then all sucked except for one, and that would be the Iron Man movies. Now, Iron Man 2, Iron Man 1, I don't know if Iron Man 3 came in there, but I'm going to throw it in there anyway. Bangers, absolute bangers, bro. Marvel knew what they was doing back then. Now I got to deal with the worst Avengers I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, the Marvel movies were hitting it, bro. The Marvel movies were going crazy, bro, with these Iron Man movies especially. But you also got to take into account the Spider-Man movies, twin. The Spider-Man movies went hard, bro. Y'all can't look at Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and not say, dang, these are tough. Like, these movies were so fire. Don't get me wrong, this brand new day, Tom Holland Spider-Man, he's got a good looking outfit too. I can't lie. But Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was where it was at with that costume. But stepping out of like the superhero movies, we had the Fast and the Furious movies. Now, before you say anything, I know what you're going to say, bro. The Fast and the Furious movies are only good like 1 through 4. Max, You might slip 5 or 6 in there, but they're not as good as the OG 3, bro. I'm talking Too Fast, Too Furious, banger. The first Fast and the Furious, banger. Tokyo Drift, absolute banger. Even though it's like low-key mad hated during his time. But like, that doesn't matter. Because it's still a banger, in my opinion, of course. Because like, you gotta look at the cars, the production value in these, bro. It was the 2000s. And they were going absolutely ham. Now, don't get me wrong, some scenes in the first movie kind of look a little stupid. Especially with that first street race scene. It looked kind of dumb. But you got to give them credit, bro. Them cars were mad nice. And it was just overall such a good movie and story, bro. And nobody had ever seen stuff like that. But next, we gotta talk about the Transformer movies. Bro, Bumblebee, banger, bro. I'm saying as a Transformer, like the movie didn't come out then. That movie sucked, in my personal opinion. But Bumblebee, Optimus Prime, Shia LaBeouf, I think that's how you say his name, low-key. I don't even know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But like, he was a W actor with all those movies, for real. Megan Fox, we can't even think about anything before thinking about Megan Fox, bro. Absolute baddie. I remember watching this movie, first 3, when I was a small little jit, thinking, dang, I know I'm straight. Because there's no way you can not be straight after you see those Transformer movies before you turn 10. Because she was so bad. Bro, those movies are so tough with the action scenes. The CGI was peak. Now we look at all these new movies with the CGI, bro. Did you see the Flash movie with this terrible CGI, bro? Get that out of here. Don't nobody want to see him. But those movies back then, those Transformer movies, had the best CGI known to man. Also, during this time, we had the scary movies come out. And you can't tell me that the scary movies aren't some of the funniest things put to cinema. Another great movie that came out in this decade is White Chicks. White Chicks is such a banger movie, bro. It was absolutely hilarious. You know, same people from the scary movies. I don't know their names. Sorry, but everybody else knows their names, so it doesn't matter if I don't. That was an absolute banger movie. It was hilarious. And so far I've only listed mostly like adult PG-13 rated R movies, bro. But we can't even talk about that when we got the most peak kids movies of all time in this decade, bro. Cars? Dang! That was peak. Shrek? We're just going ham this decade, bro. There was so much. Finding Nemo, like so many peak movies like WALL-E. You know, I would love to continue naming them, but at this point I wouldn't have enough time. Now you gotta look at the new movies and just think, man, why did they ever think this Flash movie was a good idea? Like, it's just crazy to me, the fact that we got all these different movies that are absolutely terrible coming out now. And we had those peak movies, bro. Did you see Ben Affleck Batman, bro? Trash! But back when we had that big dog, Christian Bale himself. Don't even get me started on this Heath Ledger Joker, bro. This movie really just brought the decade up, for real. Like, this gotta be probably the best movie in this decade. I don't even know, bro. Absolute banger. Can't even look at it and say otherwise. But yeah, that's about it for this video, you know. I just really wanted to get on here and talk about the most peak era of television known to man. Oh yeah, TV shows, you know, all that, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. But just the absolute best decade ever for cinema, hands down. I can't wait to see y'all in the next upload, y'all. Have a good one, and let's get it.
Yeah, I'm off the meter, I'm off the gauge. I feel like Uzi, man, I love my bitch with Ray.